My name's Nikki Lobo and I'm Deputy Editor for Habitus magazine. So I'd like to welcome you all on behalf of the team and thank you for coming. And thanks also to Designer Rugs for providing us with such a great venue to have our evening in tonight. You will have seen some of the rugs around the room, and these are beautiful designs that Easton Pearson worked on with the Designer Rugs collaboration a couple of years ago. So let's begin. Don't really need much of an introduction, I think, but Lydia and Pamela have been designing together under the Easton Pearson brand for over 20 years. Their first runway show was Paris in '98, I think.
Yes.
Does that sound right? Yep. And now their garments are stocked in over 100 stores in 24 countries worldwide. So I guess that's some of the facts of your biography, but maybe you could tell us a little bit about where you've come from, for example, you know, where you were educated, how you met, and how you came to be here, Easton Pearson, 20 years on.
Lydia and I got together in 1989. We'd known one another for a long time before this, because she's thinking of changing the way she's working, and maybe you could do it together.
So can you tell us a little bit about your design process and what it is, and what comes first? How do you go about designing a collection?
Our designs are, or our reputation is very heavily based on decoration and detail, and on print and colour also. And I guess we really start with that. That's the beginning. The textile is the beginning of the design process. So we often commission textiles to be woven, especially for us. So linens and silks, with artisanal weavers in various parts of India. Our base cloth is the beginning.
The base cloth and the decorative technique that we're particularly passionate about at that time.
Mm.
So it might be a kind of lacy effect that comes from cut work, embroidered cut work, or it might be some kind of three-dimensional effect that comes from a particular kind of beading that we want to do. We do a fair bit of vintage shopping, and we're also really interested in ethnic costumes. So often the beginning of what we do is informed by something like that, but by the time we've finished, it doesn't really end up looking like that.
Sure. Yeah. Do you feel that your garments tell stories, and how do they?
I think the process of creating a garment is a really great story, and there are many fantastic people involved in that. Apart from the obvious, the people in our workroom, the pattern makers and sample machinists, the people who actually execute the handwork are incredibly skilled, and we feel incredibly honoured and thrilled to be able to work with these people, and that's an incredible inspiration for us.
Mm. And I think one of the reasons that people think that maybe our garments tell stories is partly because we talk a lot, but also because we're very, very close to the work that we're doing, and it's very immediate. So we're the people who talk to the man who makes the artwork for the screen, and we know the guy who does the printing, and the man who runs the embroidery workroom in India. They only work for us. They don't work for anybody else. So although we don't actually employ him, our connection with him is actually imperative, and so even though he doesn't speak English, we have a very close connection with him.
Now, with the fabrics, the multitude of fabrics and textiles that you work with, you've got things, silks and satins, but also some really unusual things. So, like, I don't know.
Like some of the old weaves that we have used.
Raffia.
Yes. Raffia, yeah. We use quite a lot of raffia when we're doing embroidery.
Yeah.
But some of the fabrics that we use that are unusual, maybe people don't always recognise, but there's a beautiful old kind of weaving called jamdani, which it's like a jacquard, so the pattern is woven into the fabric, but it's the same colour, so cream on cream, and all the work is cut from behind to make the pattern. So the fabric's sort of woven in 2 layers, and then afterwards it's cut away from behind. It's the most extraordinary labour. You can't imagine how it's done. And one day it won't be done anymore. And we've used that fabric a bit because it was just so wonderful to know that you could get it. And the cotton yarn that they use is hand spun and hand woven, and it's so fine you can see right through it. So when we find things like that, we really love to use them when we can.
Sure, yeah, as you would. So how do you go about sourcing these amazing things? I mean, there's a lot of travel involved and a lot of research and things like that.
Apart from the work we do in India, we occasionally work with a women's cooperative in Vietnam. And often people approach us and give us leads, make suggestions. But it's really our own research that helps us, and research that's done by our people in India or in Vietnam who come to us and say, look, we found this great technique, or we found this fabric, and maybe you're interested in that.
How do those collaborations work when you guys have got your own collaboration going along, and then you've got another dynamic force, which is the rugs or another medium to work on? How does that work?
Well, it was really very exciting to have something reproduced on this major scale. We designed the rugs on an A4 size, and then Leah helped us colour them, and colouring them was an incredible challenge because we're used to working on much smaller pieces of fabric.
And not having to think about it going inside a whole
room
of furniture. So we were a bit frightened by the amount of colour that we actually put into the rugs. And Leah helped us to, some of them are carved, some of them are cut, the piles cut different depths, and sometimes there's a little bit of silk in the pattern that will highlight it, and Leah helped us very much with that, and also advised us. And we really did do the colours basically, but she advised us if she thought there were going to be colours in a rug that would really be difficult for people to buy. But even so, we got such a fright when we saw them. We just got such a huge fright. I just hadn't ever imagined the patterns that big. And we saw them on the wall at Blue Hotel when we were doing the launch, and we were both just looking at them going, whoa, what have we done now?
And so what do you kind of see in the next 20 years for Easton Pearson and beyond?
Well, that's interesting because we're now, we have a team of advisors working with us, and we're looking at, succession planning and all those sort of slightly boring things. But, there's lots of plans, there's lots of things we want to do. And one of them is a range of Manchester, which we have had running in a small way for about the last 15 years. And we're about to really gear it up, and it will be an online store and also available in our own stores. And then we'll look at opening other stores around Australia. And
we've got the Diffusion brand, which is just starting to look like what it's supposed to look like, and that's pretty exciting. Beyond that, we haven't really got, have we?
Well, there's so many possibilities, but you can only focus on a couple at a time and do it really well.